I like Miami.
Lost and found? Yeah. My partner here seems to have lost his mind. Could you help us find it? Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. This is episode 1 of the newest and soon-to-be most popular NFL-related podcast in the United States. Don't ask me why. We're going to have a very clear thought about what we want this to be. First and foremost, we want it to be entertaining to everybody watching. We want to see your comments down below. Like and subscribe. Give us your thoughts on content, other things that you might like to see. We're going to follow the same formula every week. We'll start with things that had happened the previous week, the highlights from the previous week, and then we'll get into talking about where teams are going forward the rest of the season. In the next segment, this week, we're going to start with having a special guest. We'll look forward to having other special guests as the year goes on. Maybe not every week, but every 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have special guests that will cover aspects of football that you may not have thought about as being tangible or part of the overall picture. So let's go ahead and get started. Reggie, before we get into this week and week 1 key matchups and things like that, I think we want to talk a little bit about the off season. What happened? What were and this is a great time as far as I'm concerned to start a podcast. We couldn't have picked a better time. There's been so much going on. There's no way that we can cover it all in our podcast tonight. But I think that the biggest off-season news would be Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets. What are your thoughts on that? Does that make them better? Does that give them a little bit better of an opportunity to get to the promised land, at least to the playoffs?
Well, first off, I'm a Chicago Bears fan. Just want to disclose that information. And I'm very happy that he's a member of the JETS, Jets. And yes, it makes them a much better team automatically. I think him and Garrett Wilson are going to have a great chemistry immediately. I think we saw a little of that in Hard Knocks. I'm not sure if you saw any of that, but I definitely think they're a playoff contender. And I'll just go there, a contender. And their defense is pretty stout as well, have a very young defense. So I like the Jets and what I'm seeing so far.
And I like Coach Saleh, and I hope I pronounced that right. I think he's a gamer. I think he's a winner. He came from a winning program in San Francisco. So I think that they did themselves good. I wouldn't say that they're quite to the level of a division winner yet, but I do see them, like you do, making it to the tournament.
Absolutely.
The other thing that jumped out at me over the offseason was the amount of marquee players that became free agents that weren't sought after that much. It seemed to me when you were looking, especially at running backs like Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott even, and some others and Saquon Barkley not getting the type of money and the type of contract that he was seeking, having to almost fight tooth and nail for it. That almost made me think of the C word between owners, collusion.
Oh, that C word.
Yeah, that's C word.
Okay.
Because, it seems like things have turned 180 in a different direction. You've now got offensive tackles and great offensive linemen that are getting paid in some cases almost twice as much as the Dalvin Cooks and Saquon and others, and running backs who not that long ago were highly valued. I remember picking fantasy teams a few years ago, and people were going running back the first 3 and 4 rounds. Now, not so much. So I wonder what's behind all that to where running backs are having to fight so much for more money and better contracts. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, what we've seen over the past 10, 15 years, this has slowly become a passing league. Running backs have become very interchangeable. Take, for instance, Zeke Elliott. He had a nice 5-year burst, 5-year streak there in Dallas. In comes Tony Pollard. I'm not sure where he was drafted, but, Jerry Jones and the rest of that team, they saw that, okay, we have a formidable running back in Tony Pollard. And really, just looking at doing an eye test, he was the better running back. And so that doesn't bode well for Dalvin Cook. That doesn't bode well for Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley to a degree, especially after an injury. So really the position has become diluted because of the propensity to want to pass, high scoring, running the ball. It's by committee. And then on top of that, hey, if he goes down, we can put the next man in with a similar skill set. The O-line is blocking sufficiently. We're good to go.
Agree and disagree. I mean, I think that, let's take them just like one at a time. Like Zeke Elliott, I think that his skills from year one to where he is now, physically and talent-wise, eroded quite a bit during that time. So when I look at, people like Mixon, I see, and Dalvin Cook even, I see so much more elusiveness. Zeke has become more of a 3 yards and a cloud of dust, goal line type of bulldozer that can get you in the end zone. Whereas I think these other guys, I love Dalvin Cook. I just can't imagine that there wasn't another team that could have used him and featured him a lot more because the running game opens up the passing game. The passing game opens up the running game. So I don't know. As far as running backs are concerned, there are big names that you'll hear about this year that you will have never heard of before, like Bijan Robinson, right, down in Atlanta.
Absolutely.
And they've got weapons. I don't know about their quarterback. I think you know a little bit more about Atlanta than I do.
They're probably the most loaded from a skill position standpoint. The Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan, and I think that's really going to help Desmond Ridder in the short and the long term. So, they're definitely an exciting group to watch. But to your point, if we revisit this conversation 5 years from now, or maybe 3 years from now, where is Bijan Robinson then? Has the successor, the new running back, come in and pushed him to the side, and now he's trying to hold out. Now he's trying to find a new situation. I think this whole running back saga gets worse, as the years go by, as the RPO, how much of an impact that has, how much that has impacted running the ball. Because now you got Josh Allen, you got Joe Burrow, you got Lamar, you have all of these quarterbacks who have the ability to pull it and run it themselves. And so we're doing that a whole lot. And it's a weapon. It's not necessarily, we're putting them in harm's way. We're utilizing them as a weapon to our advantage to score more points. So
the evolution of the game. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So earlier today, I was thinking about, great running backs, right, of all time. I was thinking about Barry Sanders, and I was thinking about the fact that he really didn't need an offensive line, right? He would create his own space and turn lemons into lemonade, and he would find a seam somehow, even if he needed to run around, for 5 or 10 seconds before he found it. But those are elite talents. I thought that was a point worthy of our conversation to talk about the running back position. So, when you look at teams in the NFL this year, I always like at the beginning of the year to look at teams that are trending up and teams that are really trending downward. And I think this year it's a little bit easier to come up with who those teams are. And I'll start out by saying, I'll give you the easy one, right? So the dead giveaway is the Arizona Cardinals. They're obviously trending down. It almost seems like they're doing it on purpose. to get into the Caleb Williams sweepstakes or whatever. What team jumps out at you as being on the downslide?
I think Minnesota, and again, Bears fan. So this isn't a loaded answer because of the NFC North, but I think the main reason that Minnesota is going to be on a downswing is because everyone else is on the upswing. I think Chicago is a better team. Green Bay, I had my doubts about them. And albeit it was just preseason, Jordan Love looks like a legit successor to Aaron Rodgers. And then Detroit's been the hottest topic of the offseason damn near since the end of last season. So I think the strength of the NFC North, I quite frankly think the NFC North is probably going to be one of the stronger divisions in the league. So they're going to be down, in my estimation.
But Jared Goff, in the legendary words of Dennis Green, if you remember, he's not who we thought he was, right? He's they had him written off into the sunset. He'll never be any good again, and he has completely rewritten that script. And now I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the game.
Whoa.
About one of the best, I'm saying one of the top 10.
In Michigan.
Wow. Tough crowd. Tough crowd. Yeah. I'll see. I'll send a Christmas card to Jared Goff. But anyway, so with the quarterback position, let's also look at the category of quarterbacks in the NFL that you could see, not because of injury, but because of poor performance, being not out of a job but demoted to second string by, let's say, week 10. Who would you see potentially being in that category?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one to me is Baker Mayfield. I think he's been supplanted a few times in his career.
Cat with 9 lives.
Yeah. So I certainly think he could get replaced or benched due to bad play. I think Bowles is he was wrenching his hands trying to figure out who that starter would be between him and Trask. And that's really not the greatest of options. And I was looking at the free agency as far as available quarterbacks. I know Colt McCoy just got cut from Arizona. Flacco's still out there. So really, there are options that are better than what they currently have that aren't in the league right now. So we're talking about divisions being strong. Everyone in the NFC South, they're up and coming. I'm not going to say any of them are strong, but they're all pretty much on equal footing. The Saints aren't that much greater than the Panthers. The Panthers aren't that much greater than the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers aren't that much greater. But I definitely see, based on his track record, Baker being the person that gets benched. And also, Jimmy Garoppolo is another one who I think could get pushed to the side by Brian Hoyer, of all people.
Wow. That would be a shock. I would, top of my list would be Mac Jones in New England. I just do not see him being a successful quarterback. I think I've even talked to you about this. I believe that over the last many years, every quarterback that comes out of Alabama looks like, a superstar, mainly because they always have 6 or 7 seconds back in the pocket to find their jet speed receiver running up against a defensive back with nowhere near the talent to keep up with them, and Alabama's a 40 and 50-point favorite. That's like pitch and catch. Then you get up to somebody like Mac Jones that has no mobility. He gets back in the pocket with a 4-second window to look at first, second, third progressions and all that, and have to make a quick decision. He looks like a deer in the headlights. So I not only think that he's a possibility of being demoted by week 10, I think he's a probability that he'll be demoted by week 10.
Yeah, and I do like their backup, Zappi. Was it Brian Zappi?
Yeah. I don't know if they cut him just for the purpose of saving a little bit of money, because they cut him and then they brought him back like the next day or something like that.
Yeah,
So
I saw that. That was kind of weird. They only had one QB on the roster. I thought that was pretty weird. But Belichick, he does his own thing.
That brings to mind for me a totally different topic. We've been looking this week already at key injuries for week 1 and players that might not, make it to the post at post time. And that, number one is Travis Kelce, although he's such a gamer that, he's got a bone bruise, apparently, no severe injury, season ending type of thing, bone bruise, but something that only Travis Kelce and very few other players in a skill position could come out and play in week 1. If I'm Kansas City, I hold him out. I don't play him week 1.
I agree.
I let him heal a little bit. I think he's a good healer. And then another topic I was saying of was that when it comes to injuries, I think that NFL teams in general, when it comes to putting out their weekly injury report, they put almost everybody into questionable status. Everybody's questionable. And then come game day, when Jay on CBS, gives the ins and the outs, he's, typically more are in than are out. So I think in a lot of cases it's gamesmanship between coaches to make the other team think that, maybe he's not going to play, or whatever. So
I think, to your point, that's a league-wide sort of thing that's been going on for a number of years. And I think at this point, and I think with fans as well, we know certain players and certain injuries, if it's a high ankle sprain, we understand that that's a little more severe than just a regular sprain.
Right.
So if you have a knee bruise or something of that nature, a lot of times we know that players, especially players who are key to that team's success, will play through. Right. So a lot of times you can kind of almost sift through, that BS of on Wednesday when the injury report comes out, you got 30% of your roster on there. Become game day, like you said, of that 30%, 25% will be playing.
Right.
With the exception of broken bones or, any major tears or what have you. But to your point, it's definitely a crazy trend.
So what do you think about playoff teams? Let's start this week with the AFC. Let's start with division winners. Who are your 4 division winners in the AFC as we start the season?
So in the AFC South, I'm going to go Tennessee. I think Tennessee will bounce back. I really think people are discounting DeAndre Hopkins and how important he will be to Tannehill and potentially Will Levis or Malik Willis if it gets to that point. So I do like Tennessee in the South. I like Baltimore. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid with Baltimore.
Wow.
And I really do, because I like what I'm hearing as far as from Monken. Zay Flowers looks like Tyreek Hill 2.0 potentially. So I do like that. I like Miami in the East. I like Miami. I like Miami. Uh-oh.
Yeah, lost and found. Yeah, my partner here seems to have lost his mind. Could you help us find it? Yeah, Reg, I'm not with you there, buddy.
Well, so Miami, AFC East, I got Miami. I like Tua if he stays healthy. New England's down. I don't trust that Aaron Rodgers can turn that program around, at least winning a division. I'm sure he can get to 9 or 10 wins. but I do see Miami getting double-digit wins. And then finally in the West, I may have lost my mind again, but I'm believing in Denver. I really am. I'm believing in Denver. Okay, that's my shocker right there. Okay, that's my shocker. I think Peyton, along with Russell, I think he gets him back on track. Okay, and keep in mind, Russell, he's been in a lot of battles. We tend to forget how seasoned of a player, of a quarterback, Super Bowl champ, Super Bowl appearance twice of a quarterback we're talking about with Russell Wilson. So that's my shocker. I might drop a few pennies on that.
Pennies is about right. Yeah, I was slapping myself there to see if I was still awake.
Hey, I'm not chalk. I'm anti-chalk.
Well, I am chalk this year in the AFC. I'm chalk to an extent. I feel like the Bills, I think, are still good. There are a lot of people that want to say that, their window is closing and all that type of stuff. I see teams like Miami kind of closing in on them. The Jets, I do believe, have a very tight window of like a year or two. They might get 2 with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. But their window is going to be very small, and they knew that, I think, when they traded for him. So it's either this year or next year, or they're going to have to find somebody else, to play that position. Cincinnati, it's, as you've said already tonight, it's a quarterback-driven league. I love Joe Burrow. I think they're a big-time contender to make it all the way to the Super Bowl. Love the Jags. Again, Trevor Lawrence, the driving factor there. I think they win it again this year in the South. And, I can't even look at anyone other than the Chiefs to win the West. So the only place that I'll go off the beaten path a little bit would be with wild card teams. And I like Baltimore there. I like the Jets there, and I like the Chargers to make it as a wild card. Again, mainly because of their quarterback, and they got really nice weapons there. As dark horses, I see Vegas and the Dolphins as being contenders. They'll be there, I think, with like 2 or 3 weeks to go in the mix to make it. So it'll be a horse race down to the end.
So that was very chalky. I think you got a little white chalk on your black sweater. So
right, yeah. What? I've been a Colorado fan all my life. They're the Buffaloes, right?
The Rockies.
Yeah, I've been a fan all my life of theirs.
Absolutely.
So, as we told you at the top of the show, occasionally, once every probably 3 weeks or so, we'll have a special guest. And boy, do we have a great one to start off the first week of Don't Ask Me Why. And that guest is a manager and a ticket writer at Hollywood Casino Sportsbook. And he joins us now, I hope. Chris, are you there?
Hey, guys. How's it going? Pleasure to be with you on this first inaugural podcast.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Great to have you with us.
Hey, Rich.
Since I've known Chris, going to the sports book every now and then, I consider myself to be somewhat of a veteran, better on football and a couple of other sports. But, man, Chris is like, turned me on to some different ideas when it comes to betting that I hadn't thought of. And it's helped me on several occasions, make a little bit smarter wager. But with the advent of, legal sports betting and the sports books online and things like that make it so easy for the novice to come in, people who aren't used to betting on sports and just starting out. What kind of advice do you have for them as they look at this, shiny new toy that they have to play with, much like kids with video games years ago, and now people have a legal means to bet on sports, and boy, isn't this fun. What's your advice to people like that just starting out?
Well, absolutely, Raj. You kind of nailed it right on the head. Who would have thought 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago we'd be sitting here in this environment talking about legalized sports betting all across the country? Not everywhere, but for the most part, most states are getting into the mix. So with that being said, it has opened up a plethora of options for, your traditional bettor, your professional gambler, and your novice wagerer. So if you are looking to get into the game, as they say, my my first and most important piece of advice is to stick to one or two sports that you enjoy watching and that you understand, because the more that you understand that sport and the more you enjoy watching that sport that you're wagering on, the more enjoyment you're going to get out of it. And let's be honest, for the newer bettor, for the recreational bettor, this should be fun. You should be doing this for fun.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And profit.
Well, yeah, of course. We all want to make a few dollars on the side. I mean, that's why we put down these hard-earned dollars that we work for,
But for the novice bettor and the newer bettor, it's more like, buy your gas for the week, or, well, no, I take that back. The price gas is, maybe a few groceries here and there, a little bit of beer. So, turn it to the other side, go 180 the other direction. You see gamblers of all types come into the sports book. Many bet a lot of money. But do you see guys come in, guys and gals come in and make large wagers on a regular basis, but yet they stick to certain bet types? One team against another, versus a spread, over under, a little parlay, something like that. Where do you see some places that some veteran bettors might want to go to look for value that they hadn't thought of before?
Absolutely. I think that, you're always going to get the local bettors who like to bet on their hometown teams, which can be good, can be bad, depending on, how they're playing and certain factors that, you have to consider. However, I think that your more astute wager, your bigger bettor, they look for just placing wagers on teams to win. A lot of these guys don't like to get involved with the point spread. We've all seen it happen where we've had what looks like a sure thing. You get the late touchdown, your bet turns in from a sure winner to an outright loser. So a lot of these guys like to just eliminate the point spread. Let's just pick 2 or 3 winners on the money line, which is the term for that. And let's just get those 2 or 3 teams to win, get in, get out. Don't worry about covering a spread. And that's one way to do it. There's absolutely value in doing that. But with the array of bets that are now open to the public, if you look a little bit deeper, as you referenced, Roger, the over and under can be a tempting wager depending on certain situations and factors. But if you look even a little deeper, team by team, there can be team bets on a team's point total. There could be player props, which coming up this week for this opening game, there's some interesting player props. One man I heard you reference earlier, Roger, and we might have to get you a call to see if you lost your mind about Jared Goff being a top 10 quarterback in the league. But I do think there will be some value in his performance on this opening Thursday night.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll eat crow. But so, Reggie, what questions do you have for Chris? I know we talked about a couple of different topics before.
Well, to that Jared Goff question, how injuries play, going back to the injury conversation, and where a player who's dealing with a contract or injury, how that could impact the scope of a game, the scope of a bet. So Jared Goff could very well go off with Chris Jones not in the saddle. And so Chris Jones is a is a wrecking ball, and so probably arguably one of the best, defensive linemen we have in the game right now. So his absence could make that prop bet look delicious. I don't know if that's a betting term, delicious, but we'll go with it. But
absolutely, Brad, you're right.
That's something where I'm seeing that, and I'm like, as a bettor, I'm like, that looks like a tempting wager right there because of that situation going on in Kansas City, on top of the Kelsey thing. All that is tied together. But Chris, my question is, with, again, legalization of sports betting, and the popularity, now you have players who, for years, players have bet under the table. Now they're betting over the table, but there are conditions to that. And I think, the viewing audience, the fans, we see these players being suspended for a series of games because they were betting, outside of a certain perimeter where they're allowed to place bets. And if you're outside, it's so convoluted and so,
yes, it is.
Crazy. So what are your thoughts on that as far as the players and their involvement with betting?
The players, they're navigating this new landscape just like us bettors are, and it's a whole different avenue for them. They're trying to focus on doing what they have to do to prepare for the season, to prepare, for this opponent that's upcoming, while at the same time, considering their own, wagers they might like to make. Now, with these new rules, not all athletes are totally aware or might not even understand some of the specific details that their teams require of them if they want to make a wager. It's not a black and white issue. There's quite a large gray area, and it is team to team or league to league how they are going to navigate this with the players. I think the most important thing going forward, if this is really going to work and players are going to be on the level and allowed to wager, is transparency. These leagues have to be upfront with these players, and they have to let them know you can do A and B, but you can't do C and D. And these are going to be the consequences across the board. There can't be any favoritism. There can't be any, well, this guy got 2 games for that. Well, I got 4 games for it. Now there has to be complete transparency across the board. I think that's the most important thing for the leagues and the players going forward.
Almost like PEDs, where
go.
There's a list of certain types of medicines that you are not allowed to take. And this is the penalty for it. Like in baseball, they have 30 games, 60 games, a whole season. So it's slotted accordingly. So to your point, I really do think it does need to be standardized as far as the rules. So there is no confusion there, because the players look bad in these instances. And
exactly.
Right. And really, they're just trying to have fun, do the same thing that we're doing, being that they get the green light.
Right. And, 90% of these players, it is on the up and up, but you have to watch out for the couple guys that might look for an angle against an opponent or for a team that they know, a player, a friend in the league that they know that might play well or not play well. But that's a really good comparison, Reg, with the PEDs. There needs to be a pretty hard line and a known responsibility and a known penalty when you violate that responsibility.
Agreed.
We'll be dropping the podcast on YouTube sooner than later, and hopefully before the Thursday night game. And did you have an angle on the Thursday night game, something that you like there that you might recommend?
Yeah, we kind of touched on it. I really think that there is some value in Jared Goff and his passing yards, which started out with about 256 when the line came out on Tuesday. I checked earlier today, it's up to 258.5, but I don't see him referencing what Reg said about Jones being out, lack of a pass rush for the Chiefs. I think that especially if the Lions fall behind, which I expect they will, He could dink and dunk and pick them apart throughout the second half, and that yardage, I could see it piling up well over the 260 number to cash a ticket for you.
Love
Even
it.
though he's got small hands, you know.
Hey, that's what they said about Kenny Pickett. He looks pretty good right now.
He damn sure does. He damn sure does.
Yes, they did.
Chris, we appreciate you coming on with us, man. This has been great, enlightening for, I'm sure, the people that'll be watching. And we hope to be able to get you back at least a couple of more times throughout the year if you're okay with it.
I look forward to it. And Raj, I got to say one thing before I go, because we have a little bit of a California connection. I got to say big ups and congratulations to the boys from El Segundo for winning the Little League World Series.
There
It's
you go.
the South Bay all day. Let's go.
That was nice. Thanks, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Chris.
Badger, congratulations on the podcast. It's going to be great. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
Later, guys.
Reg, man, that was great, wasn't it? Talking to Chris.
Absolutely. A wealth of information. Can't wait to get him on a few more times. Absolutely.
Yeah. So before we go, and to the people watching again, hopefully you'll give us a like down below, subscribe as well. There are buttons below that you can click on to like and join us for the rest of the year. We'll also be, moving on to other platforms, hopefully sooner than later. We do have a presence already on Twitter /X. Where can they find us on Twitter, Reg?
The Don't Ask Me Why pod. And we'll have it right below my finger somewhere. Yeah. So we'll make sure that you have that for our viewing audience.
We'll be hopefully getting on to audio podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts within a few weeks as well.
Engage.
The last thing that we're going to do today and every week going forward, every Thursday, you'll see us on every Thursday night, and we're always going to come up with our picks, our 2 picks, best picks for the week. This week, week 1. Reg, I'll let you start. I just looked when we were talking to Chris there. I took a split second and took a look at CBS Sports, and they showed up-to-date lines. Do you see those as well? And who do you like this week as your top pick?
I like the Bears. I like the Bears to cover. I believe they're in CBS. They're laying 2, if I'm not mistaken. So I like the Bears to come out the gate, take advantage of Aaron Rodgers-less Packers. I think Justin Fields. This is his year. It has to be his year. The ongoing theme has been weapons. So he has DJ Moore now.
Right.
He has Darnell Mooney has slid into the second, third wide receiver position that he's rightfully should be in. Cole Kmet just got paid. So we have a formidable team, and it should work. So I love the Bears coming out, laying the 2, taking down a Pack, division rivals, 1-0 to start the season.
I think that when I looked about a couple of hours ago, I think that line had gone to 1, but that actually makes it even better from your pick standpoint, right?
Yeah. Ultimately, so I like the Bears to cover 1 point. If that line moves, it really doesn't matter. I think they're just going to win outright.
Comfortably. Yeah. Okay. So that's our first pick to give out to you. And of course, next week when we come on in week 2, the first thing that we're going to do is recap our picks in week 1, and we'll let you know how we did. Hopefully we're 2-0. In order for us to get to 2-0, in addition to Reggie being correct about the Bears, I love Seattle. I love the Seahawks against the Rams. I think the Rams are another one of those teams that is on the downslide. Poor Matt Stafford. He's even without Cooper Kupp this week, which is his biggest target. And they got a great tight end, but that's about it. They've got Aaron Donald still there, but, there's just a lot of, Matt Stafford is old now. Although, I could tell him about old, but Matt Stafford is beyond his prime, I believe. And I think Seattle is just going to dominate the Rams this week and give us a nice 2-0 start. You like that, Reg?
Yeah. And to add injury to insult, Matt Stafford is having issues communicating with his younger, more hip teammates and wide receivers, and so
phones all the time.
Yeah. So that there's
or partying with their team.
All right, there's conflict already. Come on, Matt, get with the program.
Yeah, I think he might ought to just take his money and head off into the sunset before he gets hurt, really. But anyway, man, this has been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed this. Like I said, it's a great year for us to have started. Don't ask me why. We hope that you guys will stick through us the entire year. We will be here every week on our podcast to begin with on YouTube, and then we'll be moving on to other platforms as the year goes on. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Let us know. Let us know if there are other topics that you'd like us to cover as the year goes on, or maybe even some other types of guests that you would like us to look for in different parts. I'll give you a good example. We will have a guest a little bit later in the year. She will be talking about, the ups and the downs of dating when it comes to meeting guys at football games or in sports bars that are, at large gatherings watching football games. She, I think, has some background and some knowledge on that to share with us. So that should be entertaining at best. All of our guests will take us a little bit off the beaten path of just, names and players and teams and point spreads. We'll try to delve into some other topics that will be entertaining as well. But anyway, Reg, enjoyed it. We'll see you next week. And to those of us that watch, we appreciate it.
Before we slide off, our initials is DAMW, and we're trying to workshop this, but DAMW, we're trying to earn the DAMW. So we're going to do something with that. I like the initials. We laughed about it. Something's going to happen with that. The DAMW. Okay. So put that in your back pocket. We'll figure it out.
Let's get a couple of damn W's this Sunday and get off to a good start.
Exactly. The damn.
We'll see you next Saturday. Thanks, you guys, for watching. We'll talk to you next week.